Hello, sir. My name is Kshitij, and I'm from TYITD. And we are actually interviewing the project managers here so that we could make reports.
Hello, good evening, sir. I am Chetan Jinder from Village College of Arts, Commerce, Science.
Okay, hi.
We are pursuing Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology.
Shirish, thanks for giving this opportunity, to be part of this interview. Before we get started, I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Swapnil. I work with Wipro Limited as an associate vice president. My designation is associate vice president. However, in terms of role, I have done project management for past 12 years. I have been in the IT industry for almost 18 years, and I started as a business analyst. From business analyst, I have moved on to project management, followed by program management. And in my present role, I manage large-scale projects for automation and transformation across US and Canada. So I think that's all for my introduction. Now I'll get started with your questions.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, how is it decided which model is to be used? Like which SDLC model is to be used for a particular project?
It depends largely on multiple factors. It is not like hard and fast that we'll be always using a specific software development lifecycle model. There have been projects where your waterfall model is most applicable in terms of the project delivery and overall governance. Projects which are small, projects where requirements are very dynamic, you can actually go for an agile project methodology as well. I will say that when we are deciding this, we first consider what are our clients' requirement, what our client's overall project methodology is, and if client is flexible, if client is willing, we also give our inputs in terms of what will be the suitable method. Okay, what we as a service provider have done in such kind of scenarios, we gain our experiences, our overall methodology of project delivery, and trying to find a balance between what is client's requirement and what we as an expert suggest we decide. I'll give you a typical example. There have been projects where requirement itself is not fixed on day one. Okay, we have to explore, we have to understand various dynamics of that requirement and accordingly develop the product or accordingly develop the solution. In such cases, we normally go by agile, wherein you decide small milestones, you decide those sprints and go into those developments and then further, evaluate and then again, get into the development mode.
Okay, it's
Where
like
requirement is crystal clear, we go with the waterfall methodology. I hope that answers your question.
okay. Thanks. And like my next question is, which one is the most frequently used software development model?
I would say that at this point of time, waterfall software development model is most frequently used. However, there have been instances where customers are more lean towards agile model as well. But I'm talking about waterfall and agile. Do you have anything else in your mind, which you wanted to question as to, whether this model is used or
No,
not?
actually, like most frequently used, I think agile or waterfall, like mostly people use. But according to what you have faced the most, I want to know
Hmm.
that.
Okay. See, I mean, I'll tell you my experience. We try to always, mix waterfall and agile. But if you ask me personally, I would definitely prefer an agile mode of development wherein we all get proper time to understand as well as to explore the requirement and course correct us as and when required. So yeah, I would, prefer to agile mode of development as the most preferred one by the clients as well.
Now, my third question is how to analyze the risk involved in the projects.
Uh, See, the risks involved in the project actually starts even before the project starts itself. I would say that as a project manager, we should always have something called an RAID tracker. RAID stands for risks, actions, uh, issues, and decisions. RAID. Okay, we use this as a basic tracking mechanism for capturing the risks associated with the project. Now, let me ask you one question though before I get into the answers of this question. Okay, according to you, what is a risk?
Uh, Risk is actually what can go wrong in the project, like
Uh,
the triangle, which is about the budget, the time, the scope, and
okay.
if we can't complete it in time, like it's a risk.
Mhm.
So I try to adjust
You're
the
right.
triangle.
You're right in defining what could possibly go wrong. Okay. Risk is something what could possibly go wrong. It is not like something which has already gone wrong. If it has already gone wrong, then it becomes an issue and you need to fix that issue. Okay. Risk is basically anticipating what could go wrong. So ideally, when you are writing down the risks associated with the project, you should be thinking from all the directions. That's one thing. What could possibly go wrong in my project? Okay. Uh, One very classic example. I'm sure your academics would have covered that. By March 2020, nobody would have anticipated this risk that there will be a global pandemic and resources would have to sit out of home and they will they'll have to struggle to get the same connectivity as they're getting it from office, and that will impact the project. Okay, this risk was nobody this is something which was nobody able to estimate at the point of time, because none of our generation has seen this kind of risk, but now we are aware. And now in our risk estimates we always include that there could be a possibility of such disruptions which will delay the project, and if such thing happens, we'll mutually agree and decide what should be the revised timeline. But that is just a very what do you say, global level example, which happens once in a while, once in a century. Typically what happens in a project? Okay, you said about a triangle, right? What was that, what were those three sides?
It was about the budget, the time,
Mhm.
and the scope of the project.
Correct. Let's talk about each one of them. First is the scope of the project. When you start with a project, you have a certain scope which has been defined. Okay. My first risk is related to this scope. Okay. The risk of this scope being overestimated or underestimated. Okay. That is my first risk. Now, how it translates into the project risk, there is always a risk of project getting delayed if the scope is changing and if we are experiencing any scope creeps. Okay. Now, what are those scope creeps? Some of the requirements might have been estimated as just a single line requirement. Okay, that you need to have XYZ feature in your product. Okay. However, when you try to develop that particular feature, you realize that behind this you'll have to, write some 100 lines of code. Okay. Now you would have estimated certain timeline for that. Now there comes your second angle, that is related to time. Okay. I have estimated a certain time that for putting up this feature, I would need say 2 days, 1 day for development, 1 day for testing. But writing that code itself takes my entire 2 days. So my timeline is getting impacted. Okay. Like this, what could be the possible issues or risks which can happen? Okay, I'll give you another example. So you are my software developers, okay, and I have taken up this project of a particular software development. For that, you need say MacBook. Okay, it's some software related to Apple, and you need to develop that particular software. Okay, for usage in iPhone and iPads, and you need a MacBook for that. Okay, now I start the project, but none of you have a MacBook. Okay. We need to procure the MacBook. We need to, get the necessary development software installed in the MacBook, test it, make sure that there is proper what do you say, hardening done for that particular MacBook, so that it is completely safe and secure to use. All these steps take some 10 days of time. Okay. We have not factored in. We just said that I got my resources. Immediately as soon as I have resources, I give you a timeline of 8 days. That within 8 working days, I'll develop this software. But for making sure that entire infrastructure is ready, it itself take 10 days of time. I have not anticipated that. Okay, that is a risk to the project. Okay, that if there is a delay, if I don't have the necessary infrastructure with me, my project could get delayed. Okay, so that is about time. And last thing is budget. I said that I need two developers, but say I'm not factoring a tester. Okay, and then there's a client requirement that you need to test this particular product. Okay, so I need to take a tester, I need to pay for that particular tester, I have not factored in that tester, so I'm not estimated my resources properly. So starting with your basic budget, time, scope, it can lead to multiple factors. Okay, and then we need to consider each and every factor, think through what will happen if something goes wrong at a particular stage. You can also look at this from different stages of software life development. Okay, what could possibly go wrong in development? What could possibly go wrong in testing? What could possibly go wrong in requirement collection? Okay, so basically you have to be that devil's advocate who can question every step, ask relevant questions, and then estimate the risks. We do this exercise at the beginning of the project. Once the risk register is established, we run it past our clients. We give the overview of these risks to the client, and another thing we need to add along with the risks is what is the mitigation for each and every risk. Okay, so if I've estimated this risk that my project could get delayed because if I don't have a MacBook, and the necessary hardening is not done, my project date timelines are impacted. This is a risk mitigation. Even before I start my project, I need to procure the MacBooks. I need to do the necessary hardening, and my resources should also be trained on using the MacBook. For that, I need 10 days of time, which will include it in the overall project timelines. See, my risk is mitigated. I don't have to, worry about, whether that overall installation takes 5 days of time or 6 days of time. I've already estimated 10 days of time for that, right? And I've communicated to my client very well. One softer aspect about risk identification is be very clear about what could be the risk and communicate that to your client. Okay, if you stop communicating that, if you just keep it to yourself, okay, there is a risk, I know this risk and this is the mitigation, but client is not even aware about that. It's a big challenge. Hence, the last but not the least, after you identify the risk, most important thing is communicating that with your management, with your client, giving them the awareness and preparing them that this could be the possible risk and this is the solution. Okay.
Okay. And now Chetan is going to ask the fourth one.
Yes, sir. My question was estimate technique used in the organization for project parameters.
Mhm. You mean to say project management softwares, is it?
Huh.
Well, I will tell you the honest answer. The tried and tested, the best one is your Microsoft Excel. Okay. Nothing beats the good
Yes.
old Excel. But yeah, there are various project management softwares like your Microsoft Project Management is there. You have Jira, you have HP LM. These kind of project management tools we are using. Jira is very frequent, quite common, most commonly used tool. And apart from that, I think Microsoft Project Management is, I would say, that's second best. And in some cases, even ServiceNow is also used to track the project milestones as well as the different deliverables associated with all the individuals in the project. In some of the large IT organizations, like in my experience, I have worked with multiple IT organizations. So there I've seen some of them developing their own project management tools as well, wherein you can assign the tasks, you can track the timelines, you can track the efforts. Basically, project management tool is nothing but overall tracking of your deliverables and who is doing what and when he's expected
Yes, sir. After that, I have two more questions. One is which values are important to in the context of software project management?
to. Uh, well, I see this question, from multiple angles, and there could be various answers to that. I mean, you can think from it from a technical side, and you can list out all the necessary technical skills for software development. You can look at from the project governance side. I'll tell you the most important values as such. If I look at the in the project management, first is um, the awareness about the overall project. Okay, so basically, you should be completely aware about what are your deliverables. If you're not clear and still you get into that, you're bound to get failed. Okay, and then there are personal experiences on my side also where I was not clear with the requirement. I still got into that, and then those requirements went into a complete mess, and the project itself was a disaster. So be aware about the requirement. Communicate very clearly. Communication is very important. It's some of the critical situations can be managed only via proper communication. So always communicating. um, Last but not least, you should be, I would say that, willing to take risks. Okay, software development is nothing complicated. It is not something which gives you, what do you say, a lot of challenging situations. 99% of the time, things are already defined, stable, and everything where to fail. But for that 1%, if you're not willing to take risk, you'll get stagnant. Okay. My seniors always, give me this feedback that, we should allow people to take decisions and we should be also free to take our own decisions, because unless you decide something, things will not move. Okay. If you just hold on to things, okay, that somebody else will decide for me, nothing will move. So as a young professionals, I would also tell you this thing: start taking those decisions, be it related to the project or be it related to your career also. Unless you decide something, you'll not be able to move forward. So yes, right decision making, always open for communications, and always be willing to take those risks. That is something I would say that are the great qualities for a software project management.
And last question is
Mhm.
elaborate the features of project management software using your organizations.
I would say that let's not stick to my organization. I mean, I will talk in general, because we can't really share what we are doing inside the organization for outside world, due to all the data security, privacy risks, etc. But I would say that, any project management what we
Mm,
are doing, we typically make sure that the requirements are clear. Okay, understanding, elaborating, dissecting those requirements into multiple small tasks or user stories. That's the first feature. Secondly, identifying right resources. You can't take, say a MacBook, or for your Apple developer, for some developing something which is related to Android. So as a project manager, I should be very well aware about my resources, strength, and weaknesses. Who can do what? Okay. Third thing, planning, which is very critical. Without plan, I literally plan to fail. So I need to make sure that my planning is up to the mark. Smallest of the tasks are defined.
mm,
There is a deadline attached to it, and we are tracking those deadlines very closely. So last aspect is governance. Project governance is something very critical.
mm,
As a project manager, I myself do that, and I always ask my other fellow project managers also, to make sure that I connect with my team on a daily basis. I ask them questions related to their deliverables, track those deliverables in case something is getting delayed. I know that well in advance, and if something is manageable, I can handle it. If something is not manageable, then in that case I need to make sure that I keep my clients communicated. Last thing is communication. As I said, communication is always critical.
mm.
It has to be open from both the ends, from your end as well as from the customers, and you should be always receptive for their feedback too. And well, that's all. I think we'll if we follow these principles, then I think overall project management becomes very easy.
That's it, sir. We are done. Mhm.
So so that's it.
So,
Like,
Kshitij,
this was all our questions for regarding the software project management.
I hope I was able to answer your question satisfactorily.
Yes.
Satisfactorily.
yes,
So thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Chitish. Thank you so much, Chetan. I think your questions were really meaningful. It was good to interact with you as well as try to answer your questions. So, in case you have any follow-up questions or if there's any other question requirement, feel free to connect with me.
Yes,
I think
sure.
Chitish, you have my email ID, so you can reach out to me at any point in
sir.
time. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.